All right, so real quick, before we get on to the video, I had to make the announcement that I have officially launched the new apparel. We've partnered with Novice to not only bring you the best designs, but also the best material. So if you have been supporting the channel and supporting me for quite some time, now's your chance. You can go ahead, rock some merch and represent. Link is down below. Now, let's get back to the video. All right, what's going on, guys? Phil Daru back again with another ranking video. Now, if you haven't seen the strength video, I suggest you check that out first before you go ahead and watch this one. But today we're gonna go over power exercises and rankings for MMA. Now, my name is Phil Daru, 16 years in the game, worked with well over 100 professional fighters at the elite level. Guys like Dustin Poirier, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Edson Barbosa, Junior Dos Santos. Kind of the list goes on and on, but in that time frame of my 16 years, along with me being a fighter myself, I'm putting together a ranking system that allows you to get the best out of what you're doing. Because let's face it, you don't have a lot of time. You need to make sure that you have the right amount of exercises put in place so that you can be successful. So this is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go over 5 steps, just like the last video. Step number 1 is gonna be objective. Step number 2, the criteria and the weight. Step number 3 is score each exercise. And then step 4 and 5, we're gonna put it into play. So first step, what's the objective, right? We wanna rank the explosive power and performance that it gives us with those particular exercises. So we want to look at rate of force development, how fast you can produce force from a static position, speed strength, right? How much strength can we produce at a faster rate? Neuromuscular coordination, how well we can put it all together and explode throughout a full range of motion. The next one is going to be movement transfer to the sport. Very important. We want to make sure that every exercise that we do has that high transferability, especially getting closer to the fight. Fatigue versus output ratio, right? What we do inside the weight room needs to make sense, and it doesn't need to be overly fatiguing to the point of where we can't recover. So we want to make sure that we have the right amount of pressure, the right amount of stimulus in order for us to get a positive adaptation. All right, step number 2, the criteria. Now, we're gonna measure this off in weight, right? So weight is gonna be 1 through 5. So we're gonna look at explosive transfer. That's gonna be a weight of 5. Fatigue cost is gonna be a weight of 3. Skill requirement is gonna be a weight of 2. Joint safety is gonna be 3 to 4. And then scalability and overall progression, how much can we load this particular movement, is gonna be a 3, right? Now, with step number 3, we're gonna take each score. We're gonna score each one 1 to 5 under each criteria. We're also gonna multiply by the weight to get the entire total. The higher the total, the higher the tier. So we got explosive transfer. The weight is gonna be a 5 and the score is gonna be a 5 because we do want that high transferability. So we're gonna rate that as high as possible. Now that's gonna give us an overall score of 25, right? You look at fatigue cost, the weight is 3, our score is a 2. So it's gonna give us a total score of 6. Remember, 3 times 2, not 3 plus 2. Skill requirement, that's gonna be a 2. So you need to have the optimum amount of skill or efficiency of the movement. And we're gonna rate that score at a 3 with an overall of 6. Joint safety is at a weight of 3, a score of 4, equals out to 12. Scalability, how much we can put weight on that or increase in the intensity of it. You're looking at a 3 on the weight, a 2 on the overall score, which gives us 6. Overall, you're looking at a 55, somewhere around there. Now, the goal here is to make sure that we have all of these in place per exercise. So we want the highest score possible in order for us to rate it on a tier 1 through a tier 3. So step number 4, we're gonna go over the tiers of the power movements, right? So you got tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Tier 4, you really shouldn't be utilizing it in a power movement. It's more of an accessory exercise, but we'll go over it just in case. So tier 1, our overall range, you're looking at a 60 to 75. That's a high range. That's gonna be elite transfer. So has high transferability. It allows you to be powerful. It increases your explosive capabilities. Tier number 2 is 45 to 59. It's a strong supportive movement. So a supplemental lift, something that you can do that's more speed strength based. Tier number 3, 30 to 44. It's more of a lower load, has less skill dependency, and it's more for preparation work, okay? Tier number 4, below 30, you're looking at low return. This is something that you could do possibly for recovery. All right, let's go to step number 5, all right? So in order for us to customize this in a phase-by-phase approach, when you're looking at it from the breakdown perspective, off camp, we want a higher fatigue, right? So we're gonna do a lot more volume at this time around. We're also gonna be building power, right? You're gonna be doing things like non-counter movement jumps or power metrics, right? These are gonna be not as explosive, not as fast, but you can still produce some level of power. Now in camp, we want to lower fatigue cost because the goal inside of camp is to make sure that we're prepared for the skills training, right? So we're going to be working on the stretch shortening cycle. How fast can we redirect force? Plyometric activity, so how fast you can hit the ground and redirect. And then also working the complexity of that plyometric, meaning working multiple directions, which is important too as well, especially inside the cage or on the mats or in the ring. And then your recovery phase, which would be a transition phase after the fight, you want to take about 2, maybe even 4 weeks with tier 3 options, right? So these are going to be more accessory exercises, correctives, things like that are going to build a base of strength and overall athleticism to get you prepared for pre-camp and then in camp. Now listen, I go over all these in deeper detail in the mentorship program for all my coaches that are looking to get a deeper understanding of this. Link is down in the description. Sign up for a call. We'll get you hooked up. All right, so let's break down the power movements as a whole. We're gonna do 2 upper, 2 lower, and then 2 full body exercises. So the upper body, I'm gonna measure out tier 1 being a med ball rotational throw, all right? The reason why it has low fatigue cost, it has high specificity, right? You can put it in the front of the hand where you're working on your overhand or your backhand. You can go underhand where you're working hooks, working uppercuts. So rotational exercises with a ballistic action is gonna give you higher transfer, and that's why I put it as tier 1. Now, tier number 2 is gonna be a landmine rotational punch. The reason why is because it's perfect for speed strength. So if you're working your dynamic effort, if you ever worked my condensed conjugate model, you know we work dynamic effort and max effort. The goal here is to be able to put a little bit more load on the bar, but be explosive in a rotational fashion. If you transfer this into a ballistic action, meaning if you take a band, right, where you have some level of compensatory acceleration, meaning there's no deceleration of the bar, that's gonna have a higher transfer, and that can be transferred over into a tier 1. But since we're just talking about the punch with a decel, we're gonna go to tier 2. Again, you can transfer it to tier 1 if you do a throw with it or you put a band on it. All right. For the lower body, the tier 1 exercise is going to be a trap bar jump. All right. You get triple extension. You can load the bar. It's very explosive. Like I said, it's scalable and it has a high CNS return. All right. So I would probably put this more at the tier 1. Now, tier number 2, you can work a box jump. And the reason why I like box jump, because it does have an elastic component. You can do a counter movement with that, working the stretch shortening cycle. It has high neural drive, and you can load it if it's effective, if you're efficient with your movement and you're not trying to just jump on a box. When I talk about box jumping, when I tell my athletes, don't think about jumping on the box. Think about jumping up and landing on the box, because most athletes tend to pull their knees up to get on the box. The goal is to get that triple extension, to drive up, and you don't need a high box to do this, right? We wanna get that triple extension. We wanna get that explosive power from the ground up. So you think about the kinetic linkage from the feet to the ankles, knees, and hips, right, to propel you up and to defy gravity. Now, full body. Those of you that know me, you know that I like kettlebells. I think kettlebells are very versatile, right, especially when it comes down to combat sports, because there's a component of being able to relax and then contract and relax and contract efficiently and effectively and in a fast motion. With fighters, we have to be able to do that. With athletes, you have to be able to do that. But the kettlebell swing for me, it has explosive transfer, right? It has a high neural drive. You can improve your power production through the hips, and it can be loadable and transition to a tier 1 if you throw a band on top of that because of the deceleration component. You also get an overspeed eccentric, improving on your stretch shortening cycle, improving on your elasticity. So if you want to turn it into a tier 1, throw a band on there. So tier 3, and I'm going to catch some slack for this, but tier 3 is going to be a power clean. And the reason why is because of the efficiency component. If you are efficient and you know how to do the lift, it can be very effective. But because of the high complexity of the movement, because of most individuals don't have the joint prerequisites or just don't have the technical know-how to do it, it becomes a tier 3. Now, if you have the efficiency, it might be a tier 2. And then if you throw some bands on the top, just like my old mentor Louis Simmons used to do, it could be a tier 1. It all depends on your ability to overcome the bar, right? Be able to catch underneath and then repeat that over and over again. So we want elasticity, we want transfer. So for that right now, just a pure power clean for me is gonna be a tier 3. Now, some notably mentioned ones I want to put down is going to be rotational exercises with the kettlebell. Also, you can do power movements in a jumping fashion, like a lateral push or what we call a lateral bound. You can also do broad jumps for that horizontal force displacement. Or you can do lateral broad jumps with a rotation. So now you're working lateral force with rotation. These are some things that you can throw in that I would typically put in at tier 1 or tier 2. All right? So you just have to know how to put it in place, how to program it effectively so that you can get the best out of it. When it comes down to in camp, these are some of the exercises that you want to aim towards in tier 1, tier 2, getting closer to the fight. You can also utilize contrast training where you're taking high force outputs or an overcoming isometric, meaning that there's no movement of that particular position, but you're putting force into that position, allowing for more force to be displaced, for more muscle and motor unit recruitment, and then using that motor unit and muscle fiber that you fired up into an explosive action. This is gonna allow you to be more explosive and powerful for that range of motion. Remember this overall, move fast, move with high force, and do that in several planes of motion that will correlate over into your fight game, right? Hope this helps. If you have any more questions, hit the comments down below. If you want me to do more breakdown like this and continue the series, maybe we'll do some conditioning, hit the comments down below. I'll go over my tiers for conditioning protocols or exercises that you can do to efficiently produce the amount of performance that you want inside the fight. What's up guys, Daru here. Make sure you like this video and subscribe for more. See you on the next one.